Welcome to Dawn Patrol! Time for some crazy fun! Whoa, hang on! That's the spirit! Woohoo! Let's do it again!
Morning. Sorry I was a little late getting some of these things ironed out. I wanted to start this morning off with this psalm, Psalm 13. How long, Lord, will you forget me? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day my sorrow and my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look on me and answer, Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death, and my enemy will say, I have overcome him, and my foes will rejoice when I fall. But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. So, this was the reason why I put the title of talking about feelings and the wild week. Um, I'm very grateful to be in this space and have met the people that I have met. And, sometimes I, of course, am selfish about my relationships and the people that I get to spend time with. And yeah, I just love it. And it really bothers me to think that there's that saying, out of sight, out of mind. I've worked at a lot of jobs before, and I used to hear people talk to each other, and a lot of times they'd make it seem like they became friends and they're going to be friends for life. And I was looking at their relationships, and I kind of sometimes I was all negative about it, and I was like, do do you really think they're going to stay in touch with you if they leave? And I mean, sometimes they did. Obviously, I mean, they had a relationship that might have been deeper than what I was understanding it to be, but I would say most people that left and we never heard from them again, and I'd ask them, yeah, did you hear from so and so? And they would be like, no, I don't know what he's up to. Or I'm like, have you texted him? No, no. I'm like, so it's just, I think it's interesting. I say this because that isn't what I would want in this space. The thing that we do here, I really do value the relationships that I'm building in here, and whether it's them leaving or me leaving, whoever makes that journey. And I do believe you have to do what God's calling you to do. Whatever the case is, and without getting too emotionally, uh, m- you know, being led by emotions instead of being informed by the emotion of it. And I think that's a pretty important distinction there. So it kind of made me go through. I was going through the app, and I was asking. I say the app. I was going into Logos, and I was trying to look for insights on feelings and proper orientation of feelings. And of course, I wanted biblical, um, biblical informed insights, and how how was feelings used in the Bible and with the proper orientation. And of course, Psalms is one of the biggest ones. Um, I saw Psalms came up probably more than any of them, and it talked about David and how he would contrast his, anger, grief, whatever. But I'll read this to you, and let me just post this because I'm not in a silo here. There we go. There we go. So anyway, let's see here. Where was I? Yeah, scripture identifies the core problem with emotional overwhelming. Feelings can get hijacked by our judgment and lead us towards actions that contradict our deepest values. And it cites Ephesians 4:26-27. And I thought that was really cool. Hold on one sec here. I'll pull Scott up. So I put all right, I pulled up Ephesians just to, I know this because we've quoted it so many times in the corner. It's be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and do not give an opportunity to the devil. And it acknowledges that anger itself is a natural response, but warns against allowing those feelings to determine our behaviors. And then it was saying, when anger remains unmanaged, it pushes us towards bitterness and revenge rather than righteousness. Precisely the dynamic you identify earlier was what I was talking to about. The biblical solution isn't emotional suppression, but emotional formation. Rather than ignoring emotions, they need to be informed by truth. Emotions are themselves aren't inherently wrong, but serve as helpful indicators of our inner condition. And then he talks about David. David's Psalms model the beauty. He expresses his full spectrum of human emotion, from anger, grief, wonder, rejoicing, yet constantly returns to what he knows about God's character, holding both of his feelings and God's truth in the same prayer. And that's a critical difference. It lies in informing rather than denying your emotions, which is a pretty big deal for me because I'm very guarded with that. I prayed. I think I mentioned in one of my streams that I prayed. I was emotionally similar to some of the people that I know and I've met in here, and I was emotionally raw, and I might end up in that place again. But I did. I prayed about having the ability to manage my emotions and not be so, with the spikes, the highs and the lows. And I'm not talking about, an actual medical condition of depression, but I've been there. I'm just talking about the wide range of feelings that I was feeling, and they were governing my decisions. And then it mentions, where was it? Good morning, Scott.
Morning.
David cultivated knowledge of the scriptures through his mind, which then anchored his emotional life to truth. When anger lingered unaddressed, it breeds resentment and distorted thinking, ultimately giving the devil a foothold in your spiritual life. The pathway forward involves both acknowledging what you feel and deliberately reconnecting to what you know about God's character, justice, and purposes, allowing your understanding to guide your emotions rather than vice versa. And then there's several Psalms that they use. The song I read this morning, that was a good one. How long, Lord? Oh Lord, he asked, expressing sorrow that filled his heart. But then he strings it together with how it dramatically twists. David declares trust in God, steadfast love, resolved to sing because he has dealt bountifully upon him. And this isn't a denial of the pain. It's emotional truth meeting theological truth in the same breath. It brings up Psalm 77, which is a great one. It brings up Psalm 42. That's another awesome one. But these Psalms model emotional formation rather than emotional suppression. David feels full weight of abandonment, grief, enemy opposition. It simultaneously anchors himself to what remains true about God's character. The Psalm shows us that understanding knowledge of God's faithfulness can coexist with the ultimate guide of emotional responses, preventing feelings from becoming our ultimate authority. When I talk to people and they're telling me how they feel, I don't throw this at them in their face because obviously they feel these things. It's kind of like if you go to a funeral and somebody's saying things like, well, whatever. They're saying something I disagree theologically. It's not like really the time or place to be correcting their theology. You know what I mean? So just being an ear and listening to where they're at and what they're going through. But at some point, and it could be days, it could be weeks, maybe months, whatever, um, having some clarification conversations, like, you know, because I care about them. If I didn't care about them, why on earth would I, even feel the things I feel for them? It isn't about me correcting them and being right. It's just I really want to make sure that their head and their faculties are orientated towards Christ and not towards the self and what they're feeling, or um, making up things emotionally to make you feel like to make you feel better in that current situation. It's like you're making up some theology just so that you can deal with what's going on. So yeah, it was tough listening to Ethan this week. I was like, oh man, it would be a bummer, to not have him regularly on the morning. But I also know God's in control of it all. He's in control of Ian's life. He's in control of whatever we're doing in this morning thing. I'm content with and whatever process he has us all going through, and whatever he's making this to be. So it's hard to have that sadness and delight in whatever God's doing, even if I'm like, this isn't how I wanted it to go, or this isn't what I wanted to happen. But who knows? He hasn't made any decisions finally about it, but it did make me think about my feelings, and it was great getting a chance to talk to him on the phone this past week. I consider him a friend, and I consider my buddy Scott a friend. He's been awesome in this process, coming into the space and doing something with a ship in the flotilla. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, living in that place with both the feelings, um, it's difficult. I mean, the anger is a real live one, not so much towards Ethan, just in managing it, because anger has such an ability to move, and so my thoughts while you were reading that were, it really doesn't give you a clear direction on what to do with it. I mean, the margin notes that you read there talk about integrating it, and I've heard Peterson talk about that, kind of staring into the abyss. But it's not something I have a real clear picture on how to properly do. The go-to is just to shove it down way deep and don't let it do anything, and stay still, which I know isn't healthy, causes stomach ulcers and the like, and and it doesn't allow me to move. When I'm making that move to shove it all down deep and not sin, I end up not moving, which almost defeats the purpose of having the anger in the first place, right? But then the other thing too is, am I rightfully angry? That's always a question, and it's extraordinarily difficult in the moment to know whether or not whether it's righteous. For instance, I was trying to journal. I don't know, call it 6 months to a year ago. I was trying to actually journal every day, and I was playing around with doing it at night. Kind of a log of the things that happened in the day, and something had upset me, and as I was writing it down, kind of had insight as to why the individual may be doing what they're doing, and instead of me being angry about it, which is why I think pausing isn't a bad idea, but I'll leave it at that. The integration of it is a piece that I think could be a next step towards maturity.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think about my every time I am getting whatever, right, about someone else, or whether it's I'm angry or sad or whatever it is, like they're doing something that I want them to do differently. It's almost like a codependency thing, right? I want them to do something different so I feel not like this, you know? So it's like I'm a control freak in that regard. And it's very selfish, but like if somebody's really upsetting me, I think it's a little bit easier for me because I know what to do. It's like, okay, just walk in their shoes, or imagine walking in their shoes, and then imagine all the potential problems that they're going through right now, whoever it is, right? I've had bosses that were very critical of me, or where it just seemed like they were out to get me, and I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. I thought I was a hard worker. I always did whatever they asked me to do. It's like, wait a minute, this might not be about me, and then it kind of helped orientates it, and then also going to God and saying, man, I want blessings in this person's life. I kind of learned this in AA, is to praying for people that I was having problems with, and after a week or two of praying it, I actually started, even if I didn't mean it at first, eventually it just like I actually meant it, and it was so radical for me to have that transformation. But then he would resolve whatever issue it was. And I'm not saying that's always going to happen, but it was just crazy how he would do things. It was like he was waiting for me to do that with him. And then all of a sudden he exposed some massive thing, radical shift in how it was all calibrated. And all of a sudden it's like, you're so funny. You are so funny, God. That's the personal relationship. Hey, Teo, good morning, man. I'm so glad you're up.
Good morning. I just jumped in without catching up, so I might be speaking out of term. But Scott, why did you stop journaling?
Well, I never really formulated the habit. I was trying to formulate the habit, but it never came to fruition.
I ask because and this might be a bit of a incorrect woo insertion, but as you were speaking and you got onto the journaling, almost sounded like it was just dropped into your mind as God giving you oh, by the way, there was this thing that you did and helped that you've not done since. So that's why I was asking, like, I wonder what the reason is. But also the fact that the way you explained it, which I've also found this, that once you start writing and about something that's upset you, you get a different, more empathetic perspective of the person that's the cause of the strong feelings. And this is now speaking for me, not trying to project onto you, but I also find in me that sometimes I don't like that. It's nice that the feeling goes away, but what also goes away is the self-righteous justification that I had prior, that made me feel not better than the other person, but better than the other person because I'm right and they're wrong. And yeah, so those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, that's good. Go ahead.
I do see the value in it. I also see what you're pointing to. But it still doesn't get me to the point where you're in the moment. What do you do with it in the moment, outside of just shoving it down till I have an opportunity to go home and start writing in my journal? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and I think I mentioned this a couple days ago. Like, I feel in many ways I'm trying to be a warrior in a garden, and when I'm not in my garden, right, like the warrior part of me wants to come out, like, you know, the fever of, you know, being a foot soldier in the kingdom kind of thing, like, you know, that fervor and that zeal, because that's something that's hurt me in the past too, is my zeal. It's one reason why I've gotten to the point where I'm not hands off, I'm involved, but I have to say that it's not me, it's him. You know, otherwise the zeal takes over, and it's real easy to, and I always am harping on pride as well, because I think that's what you're touching on and pointing to with that kind of self-righteous feeling. So I don't think you were projecting. I think you were speaking something that I can relate to very easily.
This kind of goes back to what I was how I was feeling about knowledge and wisdom, and and us learning, right? And I know we like playing games with definitions of words, or maybe attaching them to other ideas. And I know that most of the time it's accurate, but I was thinking about, when you said that, I was thinking about James. And you remember the trials and temptations part of it? It's in the very beginning of James. It was, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kind, because you know that the test of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." And of course, he goes on about doubt and stuff like that. But I think that's one of the cool things about journaling, or even even a prayer. Like, I mean, maybe you can't get to the pad and paper right away, and you got to drive, you got things to do at work. But sometimes that split second, there was a place I worked that had this little closet. It was like a concrete closet that had nothing in it. It was the weirdest place. It was like brand new construction. I don't even know if they thought what they were going to do with it. But I'd slide into that thing, I'd just slide into it. And I just, throw a prayer up, and, distress or whatever I was just going through. I just didn't want to have that affect me for the rest of the day. And I was hoping he would just take care of it, And yeah, I think that sometimes just throwing those Hail Mary prayers up, Hail Mary, so
I've thrown a few of those up. That's a
yeah,
good.
that was a shout out for all my Catholic brothers and sisters.
I was gonna say, just to your point, Scott, about the in the moment thing, and yeah, it's. I think neither of I'm not a therapist or a retired therapist. Shout out to Everett. Sorry, a recovering therapist, I think was how we put it. But I do think there is something to the idea of, because when you were speaking about journaling, I was also thinking prayer, because I think those two things go hand in hand. That's sort of it's difficult to, as a Christian, to write down your thoughts and your feelings without it being prayer, because you're doing it in the presence of God, and that voice, the conscience, the Spirit of God, whichever way you want to put it, is present as you're doing it. And I think to get to what you do in the present, I don't think there's therapists give like techniques and stuff, and I'm not going to go down that route. But I do think what's important is that it's a slow getting better. It's the more you pray for people that upset you, the easier it is when someone else upsets you to realize, okay, I've been through this cycle of they're going to upset me, I'm going to pray for them, and I'm going to feel better. And that sort of builds up a callous, or sort of a bit of a character is the biblical way of putting it. And God does that very slowly, and it'll be like there'll be a moment where you'll realize that, oh, this would have had a much greater effect on me, and I would have been upset by this before, but due to the practices, shout out to Lance, and keeping up with the practices, it helps to eventually, in the moment, be better.
Yeah, and you can see the one thing about writing. I remember when I used to journal, I did it a lot in my early sobriety. When you go back, even if it's only a week or 2 weeks, or even if it's years, and you actually read it, you know, what was going on with me back then. My mom does this in her Bible. She'll write a date, and so, and to hopefully help what was going on with me in that year, that I highlighted this and why it was significant. And yeah, so I think that it's cool to see your change from that moment. You can for me, I would be reading something where it was really raw for me. And now I think, wow, man, I am so blessed to not be so raw and so emotional. I mean, I would cry at the drop of a hat. I've said this before, that's why I can kind of relate to some of the guys in the corner that do a lot of crying. I don't really make fun of it. I mean, it's fun to kid around. It's fun to kid around with it. But, I'm not going to say that you're letting your emotion, only know whether you're letting your emotions sway you and be your rudder, or if you're letting Christ be your rudder. And I think that's the difference, right? What we do with these emotions. I mean, I don't know. That's how I see it. What do you think, Scott?
Well, I'm also, the thought that's kind of been popping in my head is the sin creeping right outside my door and giving it a few morsels every now and again so it stays there. And that's also the not great thing. And I think anger or any emotion for that matter, as you're speaking, the idea of not letting go of the self that is how you react normally in those situations, or how you've developed to behave to protect the self. That might be a better way to say it, right? Because you're trying to prevent from being hurt or be wronged or be fooled in some way. So you develop these patterns of protecting that inner self, which is opposite to what I think we should be doing, and allowing ourselves to be open, allowing ourselves to be, allowing for that willful self-sacrifice kind of thing, that leads to rebirth, resurrection of the new thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's. I always kid around with people when they say when they're always saying on their podcast, that's helpful. Sometimes I think they say it because they don't know what else to say, but no, that is helpful. See, even Olson agrees. Great point, he says. But yeah,
interesting is the other one. I've gotten fussed at for saying interesting.
Yeah, but what's nice about the word that when you say it like that, I think even Paul PBK says something like, I think I would say it differently. That's interesting. I would think I would say it differently. It's kind of like it gives you this, more hospitable way of disagreeing, or I'm not there, or like you used to say, I got to chew on that for a while, this is something I got to sit with a little while. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a song. I kind of I've told people I don't really listen to a whole lot of music except for like Psalms music. So like people that put Psalms to music and stuff, and I think that's really cool because I really am using God's words, and there's no way an artist or a song person that's putting it together. Even if they're using AI, whatever, they can't manipulate me. This is God's words, and there's no manipulation factor. So I used to get really upset with certain, um, Christian artists that would, what I felt like was deliberate, emotional manipulation. And there's a few big ones, right? But I mean, I listened to Elevation's Blessing song. And that song, I mean, man, there's, I don't know, 5 verses of the Bible that they're pulling from. And I don't know what their intention is. All I do know is it feels like a benediction. It feels like the end of the service and somebody is crying out a blessing for me, right? I like my favorite songs is when all of us are praying to God instead of about God. Now David prays about God, so I mean, there's nothing wrong with singing songs about God. Um, I just like it when we're doing it to Him directly, And so the blessing song is an interesting song that I'm enjoying feeling it, you know. There's a live version. I mean, and you can hear him really going. He's like, throw him another blessing, Karen, because I want to just keep going. And it's just like, I mean, I remember being in those moments, in those pews or those concerts, and being swept away in it. And I do believe God uses that. I do totally think so. I'm just trying to ground myself, and have some intelligent thought about what I'm doing instead of just being blindly emotionally in the feeling. I really want to understand why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, or I don't want to just bask in a feeling. I want to understand why. I want to know why. I want to understand why it's there. Why he blessed me with it, or in some cases maybe cursed me with it, right? Like if I'm doing something that I know he would not be real happy about, and I have that guilt or whatever, and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna go head over heels on the guilt, but I know that it's there. Why is it there? I know why it's there. It's for a correction,
Yeah.
That's helpful to me.
I like that word, correction. Yeah. Yeah, and that works across the whole range of the emotions, right? There's a reason why we are feeling something, but to your point, allowing that to steer. And I can't think of a good enough analogy. When I tried to talk about this with my son as he was growing up, I was using like guideposts, right? You're still behind the wheel of the car, but these are like caution lights, or it requires a degree of attention, but I struggle with the amount of attention I'm supposed to give it, and I guess I would say I just have known that in the past, reacting quickly in the moment usually doesn't yield good fruit. And so I do the other unhealthy thing and choose to die 1,000 cuts by pushing it down, which is something that, I think isn't proper either. So there's some place, some balance in where I think we should be acknowledging the emotion of the moment and allowing it to dictate the turning of the wheel, just not driving.
What do you suppose, if you had to guess, what do you think the other side of that is? Like, what's the other side of the pendulum? So stuffing it down, right?
Right,
Or
and then it's the pure reaction where you let whatever that sin that's crouched outside my door take over, which in the case of anger is something like rage or wrath, right? In the case of
sorrow?
yeah, is just being inconsolable, right? Like
I'm a
flopping
victim.
around. Yeah,
I want to be
well,
a victim. I want to enjoy being the victim. Like I get a benefit out of that.
yeah, but I don't think the emotion in the moment allows you to necessarily think that way. I
Right.
think that's why the martial arts are what they are. It's more about finding that center point with the emotion, and not letting it drive.
Maybe that's
Yeah,
why I sucked at that.
at
I
martial
quit.
arts.
Oh, dude, I quit. I quit because I started realizing my reaction to things were like gonna hurt someone. And like I'm like, wait a minute, I got in this thing for control. And this is just becoming an auto response to somebody attacking me, like grabbing people's arms and almost breaking them and things like that. Like, why would you like, I don't, I'm not, maybe, obviously I should have stayed in it longer, but whatever. But, it's like, I don't like that. I don't want that auto response of pain, hurting someone. But yeah, I think the
Well,
more
I
we
mean, my first. Go ahead.
No, the more we do this, the more we sit with God, we get more balanced in it. I mean, he's always revealing new things. I mean, there's pastors that, the more you learn, the less you know, right? I was on my pastor, one of my pastors did a podcast and brought that up. It's like, if you think that, you're becoming a pastor and you're learning all these things and you think, like you just know it all. Like, okay, there's certain things you may know, but if anything, it makes you more humble to things you don't know. It's like the more you know, the more you realize how large God's revelation is and how deep it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we can't know. It just means, it's like it's just a
Well,
joy to find new things.
in a way, but I would also, I mean, I feel like the further I go down this road, it's not just joy, it's also terror, right? I mean, just in what you said, by learning more, you learn more about what you don't know. That's a terrifying move for somebody who's seeking knowledge. You know what I mean? Like that's the that's the crux of this walk. It's thinking, and this is where I think it'd be interesting for us to maybe explore proper rest. Sherry mentioned it a couple weeks ago on restoring meaning, and it didn't land for me what she was saying, and I've been chewing on it now for a little while. And I think one of the points she was trying to get to was that you got to put the list away. It's less of a task oriented thing, and then in those moments, you just kind of what she was saying was you just be. And for somebody who plans and writes and takes notes on everything, that's a big move. But maybe there's something in that to help us stay in the center. Because that's one of the things about church. Sundays aren't a day of rest. Sundays are about getting up, getting dressed, which you do, and but it's not. You're moving, You're checking the boxes still, right? The kids aren't getting up. They're whining and crying. I can't lose my crap on Sunday. I'm supposed to be resting. You know what I'm like? So it'd be interesting for us to maybe explore rest and the proper rest. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember my mom was doing a morning devotion, and she was praying about something or whatever, and there was this passage that she read, and the thing that jumped out, kind of lit up off the pages. Now she may have been it may be because it connected with where she was at, but she felt like she needed to do something, and she was seeking scripture for doing, and the word that really popped for her was be still. And it was like, for her, it was his way of saying, I got this. This time, I need you just to be still and be with me. You don't have to do anything. And that's, I think, it's one of the greatest things about how I see God being all sovereign, and knowing that I can rest in that. I mean, it doesn't mean we need to be idiots and, go through life blindly like nothing affects us, or that, we don't have to, like, we have to respond to things, that are, the light's red, I got to respond, right? So, but I do like the analogy of the road, I think of the guardrails, right? It's like, sometimes I'm going down this road and I'm smashing into the rails, bam, bam, but I'm just grateful that he's placed them there. Because what's worse, the ditch that's on the other side of the guardrail,
or the mountain on the other side of the road. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. All right, buddy. I gotta walk inside.
All right, brother. Have a good day at work, man.
Thank you. Enjoy your day. No, you got to work today too, no?
Yep. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Later, so.
All right. You do the same.
I'll talk to you later. Yeah, that was awesome hearing from them today. I like when Teo jumps on. What do I got? Another 7 minutes. Miss Claire. Man, you've been all over the politics and logic thing this morning. Hold on. Good morning, Miss how do you call?
You can call me Claire. Yes, call.
I know, but call.
A crow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I just wanted, you got my last email, right?
Yes.
I don't have any settings set. And it was crazy because after you had sent me that email, I got a notification, and I don't even know who this person is, but they had posted a YouTube link and a Wikipedia page on my thing. So that shows I don't have any restrictions. They posted a link. They posted not just a link, a YouTube link. They posted a Wikipedia. So look on the last video I did. You'll see in the comments somebody posted that. So I don't know why.
Did you do anything with your?
No.
That there's comment moderation of the default one.
Yeah, the basic
so the default
one
is.
Yeah, but the basic one doesn't stop links from being posted. That's what I looked up. That's what I'm saying. I didn't do anything. I left it on whatever the normal setting was, and someone's still.
Yeah, the normal
links.
setting is AI supervised, right? So people were complaining too when they said, I tried to post this comment under your video so many times, and I had to keep revising the words and everything, and then it wasn't until ages that I thought I'll have a look at the common moderation options, in YouTube Studio. And then I realized that there are 3 options that you can
Right.
choose. You can choose
Yep.
the default one, which is sort of medium level censorship. And then you can choose high level censorship. You can actually prevent them from saying certain words. And then you can opt for none. So that's
What could they possibly have a problem with whatever you're posting? Why do you get?
well,
Why is it?
I
Why is
don't
it?
know. I mean, maybe certain things are kind of. I think there's certain things that they don't like, or certain subjects they don't want discussed. That kind of thing. But I don't think high should be censored. So sometimes you think, yes, I did know, maybe it was deleted, kind of thing. But there's so many options now, like you can shadow ban people, you can do all kinds of things. So
I only
I'm just
saw. I
saying, I
only saw
don't
the.
think I did anything wrong.
No, I only saw the 3 that you brought up. And it's just about the posts. I don't know about the shadow banning stuff. Like if there's a way to ban. I mean, I think you can probably ban somebody just like what, right? Like right now, I could probably click you. Let me see what it says. Channel activity, go to channel, replace pin message, report. So I guess somebody could have maybe, I don't know if people report you, or like that's how YouTube operates. If too many people are reporting someone, maybe that puts you on under a microscope for them. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think things up.
Yeah,
Remove, put them in timeout, hide user on the channel. So you can hide the user on the channel, right? But I've never done any of this. So I that's what I'm saying. For whatever the reason, YouTube. Now there could be a chance, but see, I feel like if somebody, I guess the report must go straight to YouTube, so it doesn't go to me. So if somebody had a problem with what you were saying, or but I don't have them as moderators either. Like I have guys like Scott and Olson, so they're going to be level-headed. They're not guys that are going to screw with you and your settings.
Yes, I get it. I'm saying under comment moderation, there is 3 options: high, medium, which is the default option, and the none. That's all I'm saying. And it took me quite a while before I realized that I should opt for none. And, if anybody posts anything that needs to be deleted, I will manually delete it myself. And that is my preferred option. And
I
if you
think the only
trust
thing
in
I'm worried
AI,
about, I'm gonna tell you what I'm worried about. I'm worried about because this isn't my life, right? I'm worried about not getting the notification or paying attention to the notification quick enough to be able to be on top of it. I just don't have that. Right now, I don't have that time to monitor that stuff like that. I mean, I feel like basic is whatever basic is seems like pretty. I mean, obviously you're kind of getting the short end of the stick in this case, which you told me, but like to do none, I'm kind of a little worried about. Not you, Claire, because we talk. You send me emails. I mean, unless you're just so determined to have other people see the links that you're posting, just send them to me directly. Then screw YouTube.
yeah, but I'm just saying sometimes the best interactions are with from people who don't agree with you, because now
Yeah.
Social media is giving us very comfortable echo chambers, and all these ways of excluding words you don't like, letting people post when nobody reads their comments, so they
Yeah, but
don't know
do you
that
think?
you've taken the
Yeah,
rather
but here's my
aggressive
question. Here's my question. Do you think YouTube is reading my mind and making a decision on my behalf when I've never deleted anybody's post? Like if I was to be like an algorithm, right? If I'm not watching a video or I am watching a video, it's learning what I like and dislike. So if I was deleting certain types of comments, right, then it would make sense to me that they would be like, oh, he's probably not going to like this, and then delete it, or not, have it, allow it to show up. So to me, I feel like I feel like there's no way they know whether or not I'd have a problem with something until I have a problem with it. So for them to arbitrarily go ahead of me and protect me, or guess at what I'm gonna like, I don't know. I'm not that pilled yet when it
Oh,
comes to everything.
that's what they could say. Yes, we are protecting you with our censorship from, messages that might, mess with your mind, because you're weak and, you'll get upset. So let Papa YouTube look after you, kind of thing, right? I mean, I think I'm shadow banned, so maybe certain comments by certain accounts are, viciously censored. I'm
I
just
could
saying I
see,
haven't.
but you know how I feel about you. I love you. I don't care. I don't mind talking with you at times, and I don't mind us going back and forth in the comments. Sometimes we have fun with that. I think. I don't consider it malice.
Hmm.
But I also know other people don't have that necessarily. Like emotionally, they get more.
Yeah, it's those people.
Yeah,
It-
yeah. It's
Maybe it's those people I'm trying to reach out to,
yeah. You ignite some,
and they can block me. They can block me
Yeah. I guess some of them have
because
if they're shadow banning you.
yeah. So they're already protected,
Yeah.
because if somebody blocks you because of your comments, they're not going to see your comments. Next time you're on the same stream, or you can't respond to their comment, or they can't
Yeah.
respond to your comment. All these features are already baked in, years ago. So I know you're very protective of people. I know you were saying, I think what struck me, you as being particularly protective is like, oh, I say things, but it might trigger some weak-minded person because the story that I'm telling is, yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, but this is, I'm sure you're not a kind of 18 plus kind of channel, and and we're really quite a small group, but it's.
I'm an
it's just something
18 plus.
useful to know.
Yeah. No, mine's non-kids, whatever. I click all that just because I don't know who's gonna say what. Some people drop bombs on verbal bomb. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna say don't say that stuff on my channel, but it's like I want to make sure that YouTube doesn't start deleting words or giving me error messages or something on a video because I allowed everybody and anybody to see it. So kids are the only thing that but I put on their entertainment too, because I don't know if there's ramifications for putting teaching or education
or news and politics, because that would
Right.
make them want to scrutinize you more.
Right. So I figure entertainment, it leaves that open door for ambiguity.
Yeah, not to be taken seriously, kind of thing.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
they think.
Yeah, I mean, it forces us to categorize ourselves and make light of ourselves in a way. But I'm just saying, as a YouTube veteran who's lost an account that was over 1,000, it's no big deal, really. You're still around, and very unpopular people become popular, and vice versa, and I think a lot of it is, well, the self-censorship that I think causes neurosis. Then you don't know whether you should say it or not because of the consequences. And it's not just YouTube; it's your family members. Should you shut up about the thing on your mind at the the next family reunion, at the barbecue? And I think this is what drives people crazy. And then later, maybe they think, well, I could have said that, but I didn't. I should have said that, but I didn't, because I was scared, And I think sometimes you just have to get things off your chest to say, well, I did my best. I did say, and they they did hear, they did understand, because they reacted badly. And, in terms of teenagers, what they do is they get out, they walk out of the room and slam the door. But that could be interpreted as, message received and understood, and disliked and rejected. But at least they can't say, oh, but you never told me, Mum and Dad, not to do this thing.
I was that teenager.
Yeah, so was I. And we've got it. Those of us who have children, they've got all these weapon words like "Dad, Mum, you're a fascist, racist," da da da. All these words ending in "ist," and then they go to university and they have even more of these weapon words. So
It's sad that words that mean something get co-opted and mean something else now.
Yeah, and okay, my view is that they're outlawing facts and logic. That's what they're doing. They're going to call you extremist, fundamentalist, for even saying, but it says in the Bible, it says but you said this other thing that is opposite to what you're saying now, and then you become a dissident or something. I don't know.
I think
anyway,
the easiest example is
Olsen asked,
the fascism one. Remember the fascism one? It's like
it's just national unity.
you're trying to
isn't it?
shut down speech by using the term that is deliberately shutting down speech. Like that's like the funniest thing in the world.
Well, I mean, the worst thing they could do, and this is, this is what I've noticed, just by my observation, that, certain people, you're not supposed to talk about them. You're not supposed to talk about Nick Fuentes, Christian nationalism, but PVK is kind of, he hasn't mentioned Nick Fuentes, but he does sort of say the word Christian nationalism. And of course he should discuss it because, it's a thing and people are talking about it. And, but Tucker Carlson is sort of, oh, we don't talk about Tucker Carlson. We don't watch Tucker Carlson. And I thought, why not? He's the only, independent journalist, around that you can think of. And so,
well, I think,
but they will be marginalized.
I think you can agree, though. We all pretty much talk about what we really want to talk about. Like you talk about the things you want to talk about, and PVK is no different. He talks about the things he wants to talk about. I found it interesting that he brought up Carlson Tucker the other day. It was like, oh, like I know people are going to be all triggered by him, but no, I mean he brings it up in a very short, because it's not a big part of his life. So it's like, okay, this was interesting and whatever, and it's like a comment to help relate to his bigger theme. But hey, listen, Chris Howard's on. Let's go over there. You hear me?
Okay. Thanks
Cool.
for having me.
You got it.
Yes.
We'll talk again, Claire.
All right. Okay.